John, it's not so much anymore that it's okay to just go someplace and do your communications and do your business and do what's necessary. You got to communicate the entire bloody time. If you're not connected, you're not in business. And Gogo obviously is in the process of providing pretty aggressive solutions for that. There were some announcements yesterday. If you can, give me a rough overview of what's new at Gogo.
Sure. Maybe I'll start off by just kind of expanding on what you talked about in terms of how communication has fundamentally changed. Gogo's been part of AEA for about 24 years now, when we started with voice services 24 years ago, and today, as a lot of people know, thousands of aircraft are now operating with high-speed internet. Gogo is fortunate to be leading that. We have about 4,000 business jets and over 2,000 commercial airlines flying with internet today. One of the things we announced yesterday was progress on our Gogo Biz 4G solution, which is an evolution of the very successful Gogo 3G solution. We just conducted our first flight tests. People may know the network's already being deployed and is actually operating on the ground highly successfully with the airlines today. We gave an update on what's happening with our product in the air. We flew our Challenger around a couple of weeks ago between Chicago and Detroit, operating on the network, streaming multiple simultaneous video streams. Works great. You know, Voodoo, Hulu, all those streaming services are now going to be available when the system is fully in production early in 2017.
Sounds like an interesting line of work at this point, to be literally building the bridge that extends the usefulness of aviation through both the business and commercial side of things. At the same time, I would imagine this has got to be a very demanding industry. You're dealing with people of means, people who need to do business like yesterday, not right now, yesterday. And as a result, it's no longer enough to be the big thing. You got to be the next big thing. How do you innovate in an environment where the demands are so high all the time?
Well, I think to start off with, you can't take your eye off what you're doing, which is to be offering a really reliable service that people know just works when you get on the airplane. And Gogo is very proud that for the last 5 years, our industry has actually recognized us as being the top provider of product support into the cabin system market. Operators who use our systems today know they can rely on Gogo systems to work, and if they do have a problem, they know they can rely on the top product support organization in the industry to be there to help them. It's one thing to innovate and say you're going to build a new network. It's an entirely different thing to actually operate it on thousands of flights day in and day out. So that's table stakes for us in terms of how we actually operate today. And then looking to the future, we look at how we can use innovative solutions to introduce higher speeds, higher capabilities. One of the announcements we made yesterday is actually integrating our streaming video product actually into our 4G radios. Now that actually is very important from a cost perspective, because while you can now with Gogo Biz 4G stream video into the aircraft, the cost to do that can be really kind of prohibitive. Mm-hmm. So we've integrated our onboard streaming video products into the Gogo Biz 4G platform. So we're now going to be able to say for unlimited streaming of onboard videos, it's no more than $900 a month, no hidden surprises in terms of bills, very reliable service, very reliable capability, no sudden price. Oh my God, what happened in terms of that price point?
Like the old phone bills of old, the sudden surprise at the end of the month.
Exactly.
I did what?
Exactly.
Talk about the typical customer for Gogo right now. What are you doing with them in regards to customizing an installation and making sure the equipment meets the airplane? And then on top of that, training and acclimating them to the benefits that this allows them in regards to not just being able to go places and do business, but doing business on the way to doing business.
Sure. I mean, to your point earlier about that we're in a business aviation environment where customers have unique demands, they really do. So I'm not sure there is so much of a typical customer for Gogo.
Makes sense.
But we have customers now in just about every segment. If you look at the fractional market, I think every major fractional operator in business aviation is now a Gogo customer. NetJets has it on every single aircraft they operate in North America. Whether we're on the Fortune 50s, the Fortune 500s, whether it's the charter market, the individual owner operator, we have hundreds and hundreds of customers, in fact thousands of customers that are now using Gogo Biz. In terms of how we show them the value, then it really is just as simple as try it once and you're hooked.
Yeah.
We have many, many examples of how people have flown on, say, American Airlines or Delta Airlines, who are our airline partners, and once they've realized the benefit of being online while you fly, they immediately want to have it on their own personal aircraft. Business jets are often seen as time machines, and yet it's weird to kind of see that you have an aircraft that's a time machine, but it's the only position in the aviation where you weren't online. So now we're seeing that very rapid adoption, that continued evolution of putting internet onto your aircraft, so your time machine becomes an online time machine.
Your segment of the industry has exploded, especially over the last year or so, with a number of entrants into that community. Some of those have not distinguished themselves. Some of those haven't even arrived yet, despite the hype. How does Gogo keep itself above the fray?
Sure. I mean, the first thing is, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's one thing to say you're going to do something, it's another thing to deploy it, and then it's another thing to keep it running very reliably. If you look at the operational performance of the Gogo network, it's considered to be world-class against cellular communication provider standards. It is the most reliable network out there in aviation, and it has to be because customers depend on it. So one of the things that we really obsess about is making sure that the equipment is highly reliable, the network is highly reliable, we're on top of everything that might go wrong to fix it. All our ground sites are backed up with diesel generators. We have fiber optic lines. We're continuing to upgrade that network, put more ground sites in, more capability. The network today is capable of something like 7 terabits a second. I mean, it's a very, very kind of capable network in terms of its overall throughput. So as we continue to kind of grow and expand, we stay ahead of the competition by being there, being real, being reliable, being dependable, and then continue to offer new enhancements as we go. 4G is going to be the next evolution of that. If you look at what's happening with our airline colleagues, they've now got 2KU, which is now flying on Aeromexico, went live last week. Offers the capability of hundreds of megabits a second. We've never seen speeds like that in aviation anywhere. So Gogo Business Aviation is actually able to take advantage of what our brothers are doing in the airline side to bring ongoing new innovative technologies. So watch the future for Gogo Business Aviation. 4G is the thing that's in front of us today, but as we move into the future in 2018 and 2019, there's going to be other things that we're going to be bringing that continue to take steps forward in terms of the capability, the speeds, and the overall things that we can do for business aviation.
You mentioned the infrastructure that you've built to support this network. This has to have been not only a phenomenal investment, but as I know from covering you over the years, this did not happen overnight.
It did not. So to take a leaf out of Mike Myers' movies, so far we've spent $1 billion to actually build this network, build these networks and have them deployed. We have over 1,000 employees. So that's the kind of infrastructure that you need to basically be able to do this on a very regular basis, supporting thousands of aircraft. We're very much on the way to now supporting over 10,000 aircraft, which is almost a quarter of the global fleet of aircraft that we think are applicable for internet.
Okay.
So Gogo's moving a long way forward. We're very much the market leader in terms of what we do, and we very much intend to stay there.
So that being the case, looking forward, realizing that everybody and his brother is getting into this market with a lot of hype and a lot of claims, how do you stay ahead of that? What are you looking at for the future as the core technologies and the core markets necessary to not only survive as a company, but provide the services and help this industry get ahead?
Sure. I think we're actually reaching a very interesting transition point. Up until now, everything we've been done is largely about the passenger. Things are starting to transition in that we're looking now at what do we do to help the pilot and provide connectivity that allows them to have capabilities in the cockpit that enable the aircraft to fly more safely, fly more efficiently. And there's a number of partnerships we're working on which we'll be announcing over the rest of the year in terms of how we're going to enable the cockpit a little more with some of the non-flight critical services that enhance flight safety and flight operations. If you go beyond that, what's happening on the ground is this massive proliferation of the Internet of Things. Mm-hmm. Well, aircraft are nothing more than a series of computers, ultimately. They're Indeed. A series of things. So we're now starting to look at how we can actually enable the avionics itself to actually take advantage of the ongoing deployment of connectivity. Gogo just last week at the AIX show in Hamburg released a book on connected aircraft. We're very much trying to position ourselves as being the visionaries, the leaders in terms of how do we think about how does the aircraft itself benefit from connectivity. So the innovation doesn't just exist in terms of more networks, faster speeds, but it's how you can use it. So look to Gogo to be doing more and more on that side of things, so passengers, pilots, and planes all get the benefit of ongoing increased connectivity to the aircraft.
Do you have the capacity for the near future to be able to handle the phenomenal requirements that are going to take place, especially in light of what we're talking about, the connected aircraft? I mean, we're talking about airplanes now that literally are speaking 24/7 somewhere about their health, about where they're going, what's going on, and oh yeah, number two's temping up slightly. Or, you know, the pilot letting everybody know that dinner's going to be late and 7:30 instead. It just seems like the requirement for information, the requirement for bandwidth is never ending.
You're absolutely right, which is why Gogo just invested massively in satellite capacity with Intelsat and others. So on the airline side of things, we're actually seeing a lot of those mainline aircraft moving onto satellite because of the increased capability, the complete coverage, and the lower cost, candidly, of being able to do it over these new generation satellites. That has got a great benefit to Gogo Business Aviation in that as those airlines get off the air-to-ground network, so that capacity frees up for business aviation. So we are very confident we've got all the capacity we need to kind of do everything both here in the US as well as globally. So Gogo is very well positioned with these large satellite capacity deals. We're increasingly expanding the capability of the air-to-ground network with adding more ground sites, more sectors, higher modulation schemes. All those things allow us to kind of keep growing that network and be able to support aviation overall.
What about the low end of the business community? The guy with the King Air, the guy with the PC-12, the fellow with the Eclipse, who's looking for a communication solution and is a little bit shocked at what it's cost heretofore. Is there hope?
Absolutely, and I'm very glad you brought that up, Jim. At this show here, we actually just announced hourly rate plans for the lower end aircraft. We have hardware now that starts off as low as $35,000 and $40 an hour. Up to 5 devices and get on for $40 an hour, that's just $8 an hour. We're now offering price points into business aviation which are actually comparable with what you'd pay while flying on Delta or America. So we've reached that point where we can now offer services that offer the same kind of capabilities at the same price point in the lower end business aviation aircraft as we offer in the airlines.
And without all the hassle, no TSA.
Exactly.
That alone is a selling point. I mean, you know, where do I write the check? The industry at the same time has been through better times.
Sure.
Are you seeing this kind of capability awakening interest, or for that matter, allowing people to look at their aircraft with more utility and thereabout being able to justify what they're doing even more?
Sure. I think that's very much happening today. You're absolutely right. We're seeing people keep their aircraft for longer. They're actually willing to spend more money on the aircraft. And connectivity is right at the forefront of what they're looking to do with that, because it's so much of an enabler, whether it's for the guy flying, the aircraft itself, whether it's the guy riding in the back. When we launched air-to-ground, it became the fastest adopted communication technology in business aviation history, and frankly, it hasn't slowed. Over the last 7 years, it's been just this steady drumbeat of adoption year after year, and even through the downturns, we've seen a very healthy adoption and installation of connectivity.
Well, John, sometime over the next year, we're going to have to stop by and work with you a little bit to see how some of this is created, the work in progress. I'd love to see some of the test environments that you're working in, because I would imagine that's got to be a fascinating process. So we need to stop by and take a look at you live and in person. We'll stop
We'd love
on
to
by
do
soon.
that. We're in Broomfield, Colorado, so if you ski in the winter, it's awesome. If you hike in the summer, it's also awesome too. So
God's country.
anytime, we welcome you to come by.
John, thanks for joining us on Aero-TV and here with the Airborne crew.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 59th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Orlando, Florida, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
The 2-inch MD93 digital clock and USB charger features intuitive operation with 4 modes: local time, universal time, flight timer, and stopwatch. The dual USB charging port supplies 2.1 amps of power per port to personal electronic devices with a USB interface. Learn more at mcico.com.
Redbird Flight Simulations is dedicated to revolutionizing flight training by designing, manufacturing, and delivering affordable and innovative flight training technologies. Each Redbird device is designed to enhance the training experience for pilots of all levels, from student to ATP. Redbird is quickly becoming the industry standard for flight training. Since Redbird introduced its revolutionary FMX in 2007, colleges, universities, and flight training operations around the world have integrated Redbird products into their curriculum. It's time to discover what Redbird can do for you. Join the migration.